Hi everyone, Leanne here from Jaded Blossom, and it is day one of our mini August Thanksgiving release. Hey, so I'm using our brand new Gnome Dies Thanksgiving Day add-ons, our Gnome Dies, our Scallop Slider Topper, our Pennant Topper dies, our Mushroom dies, our Word Bubble dies, along with our brand new stamp set Gobble Up Gnomies. I'm also using Jaded Blossom's Pumpkin Spice and their flea market 6-inch pads, along with their odds and ends that match the pumpkin spice set, and the gingham linen rainbow petite prints. So these were put together on my release and review video, so you can watch that at the end. So this is a piece of paper tray ink craft cardstock, 4.25 by 11 inches, scored at 5.5 inches, with my Teflon bone folder and my Martha Stewart scoreboard. I'm making 2 of those to give me 2 vertical A2 size cards. This is my favorite craft cardstock to make card bases with. And there we go. And then on the inside, I'm going to add a white piece of Neenah Solar White 80-pound cardstock cut at 4 by 5.25 inches. And I'll add that to the interior with some ATG tape. And as per usual, I'm working on a piece of Stampin' Up! Pad. I've got a piece of borders that were cut from that pumpkin spice pad, and you'll notice that I just sort of cut them apart, like they're like a little over an inch wide. There we go, and I just cut off the overhang. And then I'll do the same thing to the other card, adding that one piece of Neenah Solar White 80-pound cardstock, 4 by 5.25 inches. You could easily write and pen on craft cardstock and it would show up, but I like to just add that. And then I'm going to add in a 1-inch strip of paper from that same pad, pumpkin spice, and cut off the overhang. There we are. So now this paper is from the flea market pad, and that is cut at that's cut 1/8 of an inch smaller than an A2 size card base. And I'm just applying it to my card with some ATG tape. There we go. So barely any of the border of the card is showing. And then I went and cut out gingham linen paper in yellow from the rainbow petite prints, and I'm using the linen side, and I'm just ink blending with distress ink in fossilized amber around the edge with a Ranger tool, blending tool, and I'm going to add that to the center of my card with some ATG tape again. So that I cut out the layer for the scallop topper, and then I cut the top of it using the mushroom dies, that grass piece. And now I'm going to add a little bit of art glitter glue around the edge, and then I will stick that down. So basically, it's giving me a layer that fits on the bottom, but it has the grassy top. All my die cutting today was done with my Gemini machine. Like usual, I'm just using my reverse tweezers there. So now that little gnome is cut out using our Gnome Dies Fall Add Ons. And then I used the Gnome Dies Thanksgiving Day add-ons for the little sunflower, and that will be put together on my release and review, so watch that. So now this is a piece from the odds and ends set that match the pumpkin spice 6-inch pad, and I'm just going to add the little fence there, and then I'm going to add some sunflowers from that same set. I'll be adding 3. And that's the nice thing about Jaded Blossom. I think that they go perfectly, all their stuff goes perfectly with Doodlebug design stuff. It's just so cute. So I'm just going to add in these odds and ends of the little sunflowers in the background. And I'm just trying to, I'll have 3, because odd numbers are your friend, right? And I'm just going to stick those down with some art glitter glue. There we go. And now I have my sentiment cut out, stamped onto Neenah Desert Storm 80-pound cardstock, cut out with our Word Bubble dies. And the sentiment is from that Gobble Up Gnomie stamp set. There we go. So now, and you saw that I layered 2 of them together just because I'll be popping that up. So now I'm going to pop up this little gnome with some 3M foam tape, and I believe some Stampin' Up! Dimensionals too. And I'm just going to, put some strips down, get everything in place. I realize I do need some more in the middle. And there we go. Actually, did I not use any Stampin' Up! Dimensionals? That's not like me. Maybe I didn't. Anyway, so I'm going to pop that little gnome, the little scarecrow gnome in the center. There we go. And everything that I use to make that gnome will be listed on my blog. And now I'm popping up that word bubble, the sentiment, with some 3M foam tape also. There we go. So darn cute. Now I did use some distress ink. I used salvage patina around the hat, around the hair, and around the little hay part that sticks out from the hat. I used the fossilized amber again. And I did use gathered twigs around that center of the sunflower. So I'm going to add a sunflower to the inside. And there we go. And now I'm just trying to get my Nuvo crystal drops to get unstuck. And I didn't show you, but I did tap little dots of it onto the eyes of the sunflower. The only one with the open eyes that are showing. Now I'm just adding some secure white jelly roll pen detail in a number 10. And it just makes, you know, your odds and ends look a little more special. Remember, you're going to get way more dimension using the dies from Jaded Blossom. So that's why my main image is that die cut, because I find it just jumps right off that paper. So there we are, adding a few little freckles, because why not have freckles on sunflowers? And I'm going to add a few little highlights to the gnome also. The skin of the gnome was cut with P13 Stampin' Pad skin tones. But like I said, everything will be listed on my blog. And now I'm pulling out vintage drops in Yellow Brick Road, and I'm just going to sprinkle a few of those around. These aren't shiny, they dry matte, which is kind of nice. And because I'm not pulling in a new color, I'm trying to, I know my card is kind of on the busy side, but that's why I'm using yellow, because I used a lot of yellow and it kind of just sort of fades in, but gives a little bit of texture at the same time. So I'm just going to add a few of those, trying to get an odd number, make sure that it's an odd number, right? And then there we go. And I'll just tap it to make sure that they flatten out a little bit. And lastly, I'm going to add some chocolate, I think, what is that one called? Chocolate chip. And I'm just going to add those on the fence posts, just where the nail heads are. And then that's about it for that one. Pretty cute, eh? Okay, so now for number 2. So I'm popping on the inside of this one, a pie from that pumpkin spice odds and ends from Doodlebug. And I'll add a little bit of highlights with my secure white jelly roll pen in a number 10. There we go. And now I'm going to create my card. So this is the same thing. I cut paper from the pumpkin spice pad at 1/8 of an inch smaller than an A2 size vertical card. So I'll have barely any of the paper tray ink craft card base showing. And then I cut out our pennant dies in the Rainbow Petite Prints and Dot Stripe. I don't know if I mentioned that on my at the beginning, but I use Dot Stripe too. There we go, coming in from the left edge. And then I cut out the layer for it from gingham linen in a matching kind of turquoise that matches the pie paper that's behind it. There we go. And then I cut out this edge using craft cardstock from Paper Tray Ink, and I'm just going to tuck that underneath the pennant using my reverse tweezers. So that will match my background edge or my card base. There we go, just making sure everything is straight. Now remember, all these toppers that you can use on treats, you can use them on card bases, and that's what I'm doing. So I went ahead and I cut out my sentiment from Gobble Up Gnomie with my word bubble dies again. And that is just the cutest. And remember, my gnome was assembled on our release and review video, so you can watch me put that together on that. I usually put together all the dies at the end of the release and review. So if you want to watch that, you can. Everything that I use will be listed on my blog for these, though. There we go. So I'm popping it up with some 3M foam tape and some Stampin' Up! Dimensionals again. There we go. Give thanks and eat pie, which goes perfectly with the gnome that's holding the pie, my little pilgrim gnome, and perfectly with the background paper from Doodlebug. It just kind of all goes together, which is kind of fun, right? There we are, just trying to get everything up. And you'll notice that I did use 2 layers on my word bubble dies. Now you'll also notice that I'm covering up the crack or the score line on the pennant die. And then that way it you can't see that where it's supposed to fold, and it looks like a great outline or great background for this gnome. Super cute stuff. So now I'm just peeling off my little background pieces of my Stampin' Up! Dimensionals. Just going to make sure that that little word bubble, the little triangle part of it is sticking up too. There we go. Isn't that cute? And those are stamped in VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink and stamped onto Nina Desert Storm 80-pound cardstock. I didn't get the Gobble Up Gnomie outline dies in time to use them for this video, but had I would have certainly used them because they are just the cutest. And I just think that they make a perfect accent to your card. Okay, so now I'm going to add the little pie with the little hands to the front of this little pilgrim gnome. Isn't that cute? I did add some glossy accents and sparkle to the little whipped cream on the top there. And now I'm using 3 hearts from the odds and ends from the Doodlebug matching odds and ends set pumpkin spice. Goes with the paper. And now I'm pulling out my Nouveau Crystal drops in Simply White, and I'm going to add a few of those sprinkled over the back of my card, just, for a little bit of shine. And look, there's a boo-boo, but I'll scoop that up and fix it in just a second here. There we go. You see, I fixed it. I turned it off and fixed it. I didn't leave it in. But there we go. So I just think that this is just an adorable little pilgrim gnome, a great addition to your gnome dies. If you have gnome dies, you're going to want them. Or if you don't have them, you're going to want them. If you do have your gnome dies, you're going to want to get all these add-ons because they're so cute. So thank you so much for stopping by. Be sure to hop on over to the Jaded Blossom blog and be inspired by the rest of the design team. And hurry on over to the Jaded Blossom store if you'd like to get the Gotta Have It Now and get your hands on the release early. Otherwise, you can hold off until Friday and buy things a la carte. And that is all. So thank you so much for watching. And we will see you soon in my next video. Bye, everyone.